Today we have quite literally a hot topic. Igor Hanas, an advocate and partner at Bardinsky & Partners who advises energy sector clients, will talk about the changes in the law affecting electricity prices, building nuclear power stations, and also offshore and onshore wind farms. Afterwards, I'll tell you about the situation on the Polish labor market. This is News from Poland Business and Law, the program designed for foreigners acting as board members in Polish companies, for investors in Poland and their foreign advisors.
There is no doubt that 2022 will be long remembered in the global energy industry and Poland. Russia's invasion of Ukraine caused a fundamental change in the principles and models that govern the power sector. We are now witnessing a shock similar to the oil crisis in the 1970s, brought about by the Middle East conflict. Paradoxically, the events of 2022 have definitely accelerated the green transition and the need for the future based on a clean energy. This is also happening in Poland, where the power sector is largely coal-based. Of no less importance in Poland's energy system is to change in the energy mix to emissions-free technologies. And Poland has mainly two options: renewables and nuclear. In November, the Polish government selected the builder and supplier of the technology for the first nuclear power plant. It will have almost 4 gigawatts capacity, and the contract is worth $20 billion. Its scale and the cost mean it is a key moment in the history of Poland's power sector. All this gives a greater urgency to amending the law on constructing nuclear power plants. Fortunately, the bill has been submitted to Sejm to amend the Act on preparing and constructing such plant. In brief, it will be significantly speed up their construction. First of all, it will change the order in which the fundamental decision is obtained. It will be issued before the location decision and not after it. The fundamental decision will also not be open to appeal by the parties to the proceedings. It will also allow applying for the grid connection terms without holding the title to property. The amendment will also change atomic law to allow the future construction high-temperature reactors. It will also allow a power plant to be operated under startup permit until it receives its operating permit. Moreover, it will move the deadlines for the providing opinions on compliance and waste disposal to the European Commission. A second matter worth highlighting is the program of construction almost 6 gigawatts of energy capacity in offshore wind farms. Back in 2021, the Polish government granted contract for difference support for these projects, and they are now entering the active stage of development. The offshore industry is currently awaiting the outcome of location permit proceedings. This will enable participation in future offshore auctions, in which the Polish government intends to select contractors for a further 5 gigawatts of capacity. Returning to shore, we can argue that the onshore renewables are not as spectacular. Nevertheless, they have no less potential and could be built in a short time. Since 2016, the Polish government has been blocking new onshore wind farms through the 10 times high Distance Act. This drastically restricts the construction of turbines near the buildings. But the energy crisis in Europe and the extremely high prices of electricity in Poland have caused the government to speed up the release of Poland's wind power potential, estimated at around 10 gigawatts of a new capacity. A draft amendment to the Distance Act is currently in the Sejm and should be debated at the beginning of the next year. The proposed amendment maintains the general requirement that the distance between the turbine and residential buildings must be at least 10 times its height. It also maintains the requirements that the wind farms must be located in compliance with the local zoning plans. But the specific requirements are to change. First, local authorities will be allowed to modify the minimum distance of turbines from residential buildings. This will be reduced to 500 meters as long as the project complies with the local zoning plan. The largest controversies in the Polish economy have been around the law on maximum prices. It follows from the European Union Council regulation on an emergency intervention in high energy prices. It sets maximum electricity prices at around 150 euros per megawatt hour for households and at 170 euros per megawatt hour for the small and medium-sized enterprises. The rules for how power companies should transfer payments to the compensation funds have caused debate and put a chill over the renewable sector. Owners of the renewable sources with over 1 megawatt capacity, which are outside the auction system, will be obliged to pay to the fund any surplus they obtain above the reference price. This will be calculated using a specific financial formula. In some scenarios, for example in a long-term power purchase agreement, the final price obtained by the generator will be much lower than original projections. Some relaxation is planned for virtual power purchase agreements. Here, the price limits will also take into account the value of the settlements with clients arising from the power purchase agreements, if they include hedging. What is interesting is that the regulation ignores settlements between the parties to corporate power purchase agreements. But this undermines the rights of investors. I've given you just a brief snapshot of a very fast-changing sector. I hope you find it interesting.
The war in Ukraine has shown how acute the shortage is of workers on the Polish labor market. In a few months following 24 February 2022, when the Russian Federation attacked Ukraine, more than 600,000 refugees, mostly women, because men of conscription age are banned from leaving Ukraine, found legal employment in Poland. At the same time, registered unemployment is at an all-time low of 5.1% and likely to keep falling. This means that Poland could provide a further number of Ukrainian refugees with employment should some of that country's population have to flee, such as due to Russia's attacks on its energy and water infrastructure. Even if the war ends, a large number of refugees will continue to remain in Poland, giving a significant boost to Poland's economic development. Falling unemployment combined with high inflation will drive wage growth. But Poland's low average annual wage of $13,300, which places it 32nd in the world, will continue to attract investors. In comparison, the average wage in Germany, our most important trading partner, is almost $43,000 a year, while in the UK it's almost $44,000. Thank you for watching this episode. See you next time.